Here is the shortened version of your story. The action begins almost immediately, the tone remains grounded and persistent, and every major incident, from the initial standoff to the survey records, neighbors' testimonies, $340,000 contractor paper trail, tunnel digging, and the trail camera footage, has been strictly preserved. The gate was padlocked. I sat in my truck with the engine running and stared at it. Heavy-duty commercial padlock, new chain, and an orange HOA violation notice folded once and zip tied to the metal. Karen was standing at the gate with a clipboard. She had 2 board members flanking her like backup, and the HOA maintenance contractor standing just off to her right. She didn't step aside. I rolled down my window. "This road," she said before I could open my mouth, "falls under HOA Common Area Boundary Revision 7 passed at last Thursday's meeting. You'll need to submit a formal access application and pay the processing fee before we can consider reinstating your entry." I looked past her. Through the gate, my farm was 200 yards away. My irrigation timer had clicked on at 6 a.m., spraying the front beds. No one had fed the animals. Board member number 2 stepped toward my window. "If you attempt to breach the barrier, we can have your vehicle towed. HOA Bylaws, Section 14. He was standing on a recorded private easement that had belonged to me since 2013. "Can I see the plat map that shows this road as HOA Common Area?" I asked. Karen gave me a look reserved for malfunctioning equipment. "You submit the formal access application. We review it. You receive a decision." "How long does the review take?" "That depends on the board's schedule. The processing fee is $850, plus retroactive unauthorized access penalties, $200 per day starting today." I stepped out of the truck, pulled out my phone, and photographed everything: the padlock, the orange notice, the contractor's truck parked squarely on my easement, and the timestamp, 7:14 a.m. What Karen didn't know was that I had the original county survey records for that road sitting in a fireproof box under my workbench. Filed in 1987, those records described the road as a private vehicular access easement for the benefit of my parcel, recorded in perpetuity. The HOA had been incorporated in 2003. Whatever Boundary Revision 7 meant to Karen, the board had voted on something they had never owned. I drove back to the house, calm in the way someone is calm when they've decided to make a list until it becomes something impossible to ignore. First, I reached out to my neighbors. Ruth, 71, had racked up $3,400 in ridiculous fines over mulch colors and decorative stones, paying out of fear of a property lien. Marcus and Priya Henderson were fined $600 for a late trash bin while Marcus was hospitalized for a ruptured appendix. Dawn, a retired teacher, had been shut down at a meeting for asking about a $450 fence post fine. I submitted a public records request for 24 months of HOA meeting minutes. They arrived in 2 days. Handicraft Property Solutions appeared on 14 separate line items over 24 months. Every maintenance contract passed 3-0. No competing bids, no discussion. Next, I pulled the 1987 easement plat from my fireproof box and called the county recorder's office for certified copies. The clerk searched the system and delivered the clincher: "I'm not finding any HOA boundary amendment filed against that road. Nothing under Revision 7 exists in our records." Karen had padlocked a road using a document that didn't legally exist. A board vote without a county filing carries zero legal weight over property records. On day 3, a letter arrived from the HOA's attorney reiterating the $850 application fee and threatening $200 daily fines. My running total hit $600. Meanwhile, my greenhouse crops were dying. I hired Tyler, a neighbor's 15-year-old kid, to crawl through a gap in the back fence twice a day to feed the animals and check the water. But climbing a fence wasn't a long-term solution. 2 nights later, I attended the monthly HOA meeting. When floor questions opened, I asked, "Has Common Area Boundary Revision 7 been filed with the county recorder?" State statute requires boundary amendments to be recorded to be enforceable. Karen shut me down, that's an internal governance matter. Board member number 2 held the door open, closing public comment prematurely. By day 9, my farm entrance security camera caught the HOA contractor's crew marking my road surface with orange survey paint, claiming territory without permission. I saved the footage and sent Karen a certified notice requesting their legal basis for trespassing. She ignored it. By day 12, Tyler couldn't use the back fence gap anymore. I needed real access, but I refused to pay $850 for permission to use land I owned. So I looked at my property's rear parcel, an acreage that had never touched the HOA boundary. I called my cousin Eddie, who ran an excavation business. I need to rent your time. Evenings, off the books. Eddie checked the grade on Saturday. The rear parcel came within 40 yards of the farm's back fence through dense clay soil. 10 days, Eddie said. Maybe 12. That works, I said. We dug a drive-through cut sloped entry from the rear parcel, reinforced walls and a graded floor wide enough for my truck. Eddie ran the track excavator after sunset, while I worked alongside him with a wheelbarrow, timber supports, and a headlamp. Until it was wide enough, I fed my livestock on my hands and knees through the partial gap, clay on my jacket and a flashlight in my teeth. On day 18, a cease and desist letter arrived from an unfamiliar law firm threatening a temporary restraining order, claiming my excavation materially alters the visual character of the adjacent common area. I brought out a measuring tape and hired a licensed surveyor for $600. The certification proved the tunnel path sat 100% within my private rear parcel, 31 feet clear of the nearest HOA boundary. I mailed the surveyor's seal to the attorney, noting the 31-foot factual error and reserving my right to sue for bad faith legal threats. By night 20, the tunnel was 85% complete. At 11:02 p.m., my trail camera captured the HOA contractor's truck pulling up to the edge of my rear parcel. 2 men stepped out with shovels and dumped 2 feet of compacted dirt directly into the tunnel opening to block vehicle access. The whole operation took 11 minutes. I watched the footage the next morning when I came down to check the camera. I watched it 3 times.